How you doing, everybody? And welcome to the Bi-Conics podcast wrestling YouTube channel review something or other.
Great
We gotta get the
American
name
Bash
fixed, Mikey.
Night of Champions.
We got lots of Bash at the Beach 1999. Welcome to this review of AEW Dynamite 200. This is the 200th Dynamite episode from August 2nd. 2023. I'm joined by Mikey and JVL. JVL and I are finally reunited. I haven't been in a virtual room with JVL for many times.
I know what I did. I know what I did.
You know, you go to another country and you think about what you did.
Exactly. That's what I had to do.
You failed your mission in finding Malachi Black. I'm disappointed.
He was here the whole time. I went everywhere looking for him. And, for a country the size of Connecticut, it's easy to look everywhere.
Did you find his tracks? Like, you must have seen evidence of his. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
There were literal patches of black grass everywhere he walked there. So I could follow it pretty easily. But then it went to the airport and then it was gone. And I lost my tracking ability once I got back to the States. It's something with the air and the nose and just can't smell it out. Yeah,
that's fair. I wonder if
it is.
Yeah, we got to look into that because I wonder if you just follow him. This is a tangent. I'm going to stop. We have a lot of thoughts on AEW Dynamite 200.
Yes, we do.
Overall, and we're going to talk about this. We're going to rant about this. We were ranting before we got on the camera and about a lot of things. I'm excited for the Tony Khan Accountability Corner, which is coming soon. We were texting back and forth. I saw this. It really felt like the first half they were trying too hard. And there was this sort of, I'm going to pump this 200 episodes of nostalgia down your throat sort of thing. And it wasn't that I didn't like the editing and the mashups of it, but it was a little more grandiose than I felt they earned. And the matches did not support that the first half or so. There was kind of a shift during an MJF Adam Cole promo in the middle, which we'll talk about because I really have some questions and some thoughts about where that's going. And the best matches of the night were in the last 15 minutes. You could argue.
Which, if you're going to have your best matches there, usually you want to have them closer to the end so people stay through, but you want to get them going at the beginning. Correct. There's a whole balance to this.
Yeah, and you got to give me a reason to watch. And which apparently NXT is killing it. I might start cheating on AEW with NXT because they're kind of sexy and they're killing it over there.
Not enough for you, John. We know.
So the first half kind of flat, right? Like, we kind of agree with this.
They were setting up. It seemed like we're going to introduce our history to you if you've never watched before, because people might come in for this show specifically, like, hey, 200 episodes, what's going on? So you've got that balance of we got to get our history out there, but also they wanted to pay homage in every match to some big match that happened down the road and kind of get that going there as well. And between like the opening matches, Tony Khan's, famously dead-eyed promo and like all those other things, it's just
we got to talk about that. I have a note to talk about that. Like, what sort of weird Twilight Zone is that dude in? Mikey, what do you think?
Okay, so
here it goes. The wind up.
So
and the pitch.
I mean, it's no secret.
It's a knuckle.
I like AEW, and when I initially saw the card for the 200th episode, now prior when I saw this card, I was like, okay. It wasn't until the day of the show where we got announced that the Elite would have a match on there. And if I'm being completely honest, they could have stayed off the show because I feel like that match did nothing for nobody. And also it doesn't help the image of the Elite with their little announcement after said match afterwards, but we'll talk about it.
We just did a C+ match, and we're excited to be re-signed for more C+ matches going forward.
So,
I'm pretty sure the card got switched. And this is my conspiracy theory to it.
I got two questions, and since you said that, I want to ask this question now, and then we'll get into the ranting and the raving wall stuff.
Let's do it.
How much, whereas as WWE, for me, SmackDown, Raw, NXT, whatever else, I think the meddling is obvious. We know exactly who is meddling. We know Vince shows up and changes things and does things. How much of AEW isn't necessarily Tony Khan, but maybe Ted Turner and TNT and other networks saying, hey, we want more of this, we want more of that, we want less this, and Tony Khan folding and not standing up for the promotion?
Well, I think the big corporation that would probably have the most say would probably be WB Warner Brothers, because, maybe. But it's weird because, I mean, Tony is slowly kind of trying, and the keyword being trying to mitigate other people to do the booking.
Sure.
It's not fair to compare brands, but holy fuck, you guys. Collision feels like such a different beast. And I'm like, how is this part of the same AEW universe? Because it feels written and like paced so much more differently than Dynamite. And yeah, we'll get into that. But overall, my thoughts were, I don't think the Elite match needed to be there. And it just felt weird. Like, I was entertained, but I will say the second hours probably was more entertaining for me, not just match wise, but we'll also talk about that segment at the Nick Wayne compound because that shit was fire. But we'll talk about
that
it.
with the professor because the acting on that was the first time a promo had seemed like, oh, this is well put together.
And
I have some thoughts on that as well. We'll talk about it.
All right. So with that, yeah, go ahead.
I don't want to keep going. We start off the night with the Ocho walking out.
Boot.
Why is Chris Jericho the Ocho? Because this is the 8th iteration of Chris Jericho. Is that
he's held like 8 different main titles across like 8 different promotions.
Okay.
I believe this was the story behind it.
Or ESPN too.
He's a big fan of Chad Ochocinco, and so he just wants to go with that. Where you just name stuff
You're gonna
the statements and viewpoints of our host do not reflect the entirety of Bi-Conics.
Chris Jericho wears lifts so he can look tall next to Takeshita in promos.
I mean, I think in general, wearing lifts looks taller.
He's not a small guy. I mean, it's funny, but either way, the Ocho comes out.
So the Ocho comes out,
jacket and his big bat.
Which the bat comes into play with this match. So it's Jericho and Takeshita versus Sammy Guevara and Garcia coming out here, this is sort of a breakup match, right? Kinda, maybe.
They didn't
work that way.
I mean, Chris Jericho made his decision at some point, but I feel like the execution was not it.
So, like I said, trying too hard to get too much in at once. Because they were also trying to build storylines at the same time as celebrating themselves, which you look at other like clip shows or like celebrations in this respect, they don't really further a lot of storylines on them for a reason. It's supposed to be nostalgia, but when you're only this young, you don't have that much nostalgia to pull from, and the people you would pull for nostalgia are in the other company, and they're not going to come over.
I absolutely buy that.
Or they're out on injury, and you don't want to talk about them. Like we know.
Although I'm hoping they're going to bring Jamie Hayter at least back for the Wembley show to be like get the ovation she deserves, but we'll see what happens.
We'll also talk about the Wembley show because there's something in my spirit.
We have a match.
We have the main event, but I have issues with this, and something in my soul is telling me some fuckery is about to go down with how we're building these cards.
Oh, we'll talk.
And I said cards because this also is going to play into All Out as well.
Yeah, I see fuckery in the distance as well.
Hi.
Hi, my name's Jake Fuckery. I think that this match should have been way better because the first, 5 minutes of it was just a chop fest.
Oh, yeah.
No one takes any risks. Everyone's just chopping each other. Chris Jericho can absolutely take a chop. But the ones he's throwing, I don't think are as strong as I think he thinks they're throwing. Because Sammy and Garcia are selling the hell out of it. And it's sort of like just kind of there. But
It's
Chris
as
is
strong
taking
as
him.
his Judas Effect finisher, which is not strong.
Which is not
Which
is not great.
So this is going on the whole time. I'm still a huge fan of Takeshita. I don't know what he's doing. Like, I feel like now he's stuck in this Don Callis Jericho land, and I really wanted to see more of him as a singles guy.
That was my biggest. We talked about this,
but not, and they're gonna screw him up.
It's half the fact they want a mouthpiece for him, just because like it's always been talked about before. If they don't have English for the English speaking things, even with AEW who love their foreign wrestlers, you can tell his English isn't great. So if they're not going to subtitle him, they got to stick him with a mouthpiece. And Don Callis is the best one to do it with. But this was perfectly personified in when he's standing over Garcia, trying to gyrate, but he's like, I'm not comfortable.
I actually kind of found that funny. That was great. That gives me shades of this video that I sent earlier of Takeshita having a whole entire wrestling match at like a high school football field and then literally doing like 100 dash hurdle sprint to kick somebody. It was great.
Dude's an ogre. I'm not saying he's being misused. I see the potential for him to be in these weird, what are we doing with this Don?
It's just a weird transition time because Takeshita was a part of Elite versus Blackpool Combat Club storyline leading into Blood and Guts, and that Blood and Guts was, oh my god, that was 2 weeks ago. Holy crap.
Yes, it was.
And in 2 weeks, I'm already confused. Where the hell are we going? Why did we do any of this?
We'll talk about it later because, like, I'm gonna say something that's gonna hurt AEW fans, but I'm gonna save it for later.
Shoot, we only got 35 subscribers. Who's gonna know? Of course, watch this one get in the algorithm, and everybody wants to come chirping.
I love it. If we have a hot take
Come
that
for
Mikey gets in
us.
trouble for, this would be perfect.
That's fine.
I have a couple of hot takes.
So there,
No, really? Oh,
there's some good spots in here by the end. I did not dislike it, but it was definitely, like we've talked about, sort of, this is just taking up space,
well,
not
the ending was
pushing
botched.
anything.
The ending was not put together well because it was like it. Yeah, it seemed like they were trying to set it up for more of like having more of a
Yeah.
break of like what do I do, but it was just so quick and so nothing else. It was just bang bang. out.
So it's where'd he go?
Don
Garcia goes for it, right? Garcia's going
Yep.
for the figure four, right? Gets Jericho halfway into it. Don Callis goes in there with the bat, rocks him with it, ends the hold. Chris Jericho turns to Don Callis and says, "What
Bat
the
has
F?"
a name, by the way.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to misgender the bat. What's the name of the bat?
Floyd.
Floyd the Bat. Floyd the
Yep.
Bat?
Floyd the Bat.
So Floyd the Bat gets in the ring. Don Callis misuses Floyd the Bat and
Yes.
puts Floyd's head into Garcia's head without consent, and then kicks Floyd out of the ring later on. So Floyd is
Nope,
just used.
doesn't get him out of the ring. Puts him in the ring. So
Well, he
Jericho
stays-
can see it.
Floyd's in the ring. Yeah, you're right. You're right. So
That's what the confusion was. Like Jericho sees that happened, but it wasn't played for time. It wasn't played for anything else. It just was, oh, am I bad? I'm bad. I'm gonna pin him.
good. And I'm glad that you said that, because this was a theme for the rest of the night that I had that I wanted to talk about. There were miscues and waiting for cues and missing cues all over the place. This match was the start of it, and we've talked about this in the past. I wonder if folks just got in their head by the end of it, or if a lot was meddled, like we were talking about, like things changed and were weird, because we see this later on in the tag match. We see this in the three-way, whatever the hell that was, match, where it's just sort of,
we
I'm
needed
going
to fill time match.
yeah, sort of this, I'm going to sit here and wait, and I'm going to wait just a hair too long. Are you sure you're ready? And the cameraman always catches the check-in, and then we move on.
Well,
So this was
but
kind
is
of
also
another one.
this is Jericho matches in general because we've talked about this multiple weeks where like Jericho's caught gigging, he's caught like looking over somewhere else.
Right.
He's just slower on the uptake than most of the other folks are at this point for these beats. Whereas if you let him run and just do it, he's fine. Or you have him in like protected with it. But it just seems like if he's the centerpiece, especially at the ending,
Sure.
he exposes the business right out there, which is exposed anyways. But
Well, you can still finesse that, right? You could still play the disbelief and theater of it instead of just, I'm just going to totally wait for you.
Mhm.
Yeah, okay, great. And it's like, well, I saw that. You purposely took me out of that.
Meanwhile, I was happy at the beginning when Don Callis almost got hit by the fireworks in real life, and that was great.
That was kind of funny.
Don Callis
But yeah,
has
so
had
that
such a hard time. First, he gets bleeded open on live television on AEW Dynamite. Then, in Triple Mania in Mexico, he gets attacked by a fan, which was also insane. And then here,
that real?
he almost pulls a Kofi Kingston where he gets exploded with pyro. It's great.
or the Undertaker, one of the two.
One of the two.
See,
But,
Goldberg just stood there and took it because he was a dumbass. Everyone else has done it on accident.
I'm surprised he doesn't have lung cancer yet from all the smoke he inhaled.
Oh, I'm
Um,
sure he's got some other weird thing.
Something he's melanoma of the skin from all the sun tanning. But so ends up with Jericho and Takeshita winning and sets up this kind of divide in the Jericho Appreciation Society. So obviously we're gonna have something coming up later in the night where we're gonna deal with that somewhat, or it wasn't right after where Magic Matt Menard.
Literally, when we come back from commercial, Matt Menard comes
Oh,
up because there's supposed to be an interview like in the hallway, and Daddy Magic comes up and just like, hey, next week we're gonna have a JAS emergency meeting and you better be there. I was just like, the breakup is happening.
They have to do it before Wembley. They've got to get it set up because they got to get the Don Callis family put together for Wembley.
I don't know. Right now, this whole JAS thing just sounds like a bunch of kids in a clubhouse.
It's what it is. It's
And
the
it's-
pinnacle. It's the firm. It's all these like the things. that they've
It's
had for
literally
years.
the leftover people that aren't Sammy and Daniel Garcia. It's just like your buffer people. And I hate to say it, but I'm just like, it's not, to me, it would make more sense if it was coming from Daniel or Sammy, since they're a little more prominent, I guess, in the storyline, I guess, but they haven't said squat. So hopefully they get most of the mic time next week.
Well, there was a time where I feel like this faction actually carried a little weight and it was interesting, even though it was based around ye old holy god Chris Jericho. But whereas it's like, the Black Bull Combat Club, oh, those are the Fight Club dudes that go do martial arts. Okay, you got the elite. Okay, those are the jocks that hang out, that fight hard, that drink or whatever this. You have, I don't know, all kinds of other
House
factions.
of Black, who
House
are
of
not
Black.
there right now. My God, where they're spooky doopy boops.
Spooky Dookie, we hang out at Hot Topic Club. Like all of them,
They're hanging out on Collision. And by the way, shout out to Julia Hart for taking that bump off the ladder into Buddy Matthews' arms into that table. You could tell she was so scared, but she did it.
JAS just comes off like we have a club in a treehouse and we had a Chris Jericho poster. I don't like you, you don't like me. I'm taking the poster back. Like I have no reason to watch them.
It's literally the Gross Club from Calvin and Hobbes. They're up in the treehouse to get rid of smelly girls with the S. And Chris Jericho is Calvin, and he's leaving finally. He's grown.
Man, that opened a Pandora. That opened a box in my head.
You're right. And oh wow.
Yeah.
So then
Calvin's growing up, and all of his toys are left behind, and they're reverting back to their original states.
Yeah. And Hobbs is gonna wait, and then eventually show up at some pay-per-view and say, "Hey, do you remember me?" And then take a chair for him. Yeah.
And then from Luchasaurus, because obviously you can't have to have two fantastical beings fighting each other.
You have to. Yeah, that's the only way that works. Wow. We just figured out everything wrong with that plot line. That's all it was.
Right.
Had to go straight to Calvin and Hobbs.
God, this match was
everything goes back to
okay.
Calvin and Hobbes.
Yeah.
Everything always goes back to Calvin and Hobbes. All right.
So after this, we go to, is this the Jack Perry, whatever the hell we're doing?
This is your favorite performer ever, Professor. This is your person you've been waiting to see do something better. And I will say, my God, you somehow got better by leaps and bounds by the end of this damn thing.
I love him as a heel.
Yeah.
It works. The first entrance ever, I think I was biased because I was like, I want to hate you. But Jack Perry as a heel has something to do. I wrote this in my notes. It's simplified. Mm-hmm. You have an action. I'm here to be hated, and I don't like you. Great. And it almost seems like he's having fun with this. I don't know how much fun he was having as Jungle Jack Perry. It seemed like he was just kind of bored, and I'm stuck in this jungle motif thing, but I've always ever done this, and this is all I know. Mm-hmm. So taking the risk to be just bare bones, black, simple, borrowing a jacket from the Judgment Day, coming out when he does.
His dad's dead body, but that's beside the point.
He took it he dug up. Oh, that's the promo you don't see. He's digging up his dad to steal the jacket to put his old body.
He's burying his dad, but it wasn't Jungle Boy that he was burying. He was reburying his dad after taking the wardrobe.
Yeah, stealing his jacket.
Why is his dad? His dad's buried out in the middle of nowhere, Arizona?
That's horrifying.
That's too bad. There's no Arizona 90210. Like, that's really far away to go to pay your pilgrimage, man.
I mean, that's actually the temperature in Arizona when he was there. Is 90210. So.
You're just wearing flight suits, and it's very hot here. I'm just here to bury my dad
on Mars. Yeah.
So this promo happens.
And we were expecting something. We didn't know what was going to come of it from last week with, like, are they setting up Jerry Lynn to come out and have a match? Because the man is, like, medically, like, so far gone, he can't do that. So obviously they had pushed it. And I was worried going into this week going, okay, you're going to have another talk to each other. Like, what the hell is this going to be? And no, they do the right thing. And they set up, I the line of the night. I can't beat you up because it would be child abuse.
I was like,
such a good line.
Damn, Jerry Lynn.
He brings in his buddy to actually commit the child abuse.
And I mean, the fans knew who was coming out. I let it slide because I hate when crowds like spoil it before they can. I was like, I know what this is, but you know what? I'm gonna let this go.
I think someone put it the best on one of the reviews I read was that this is the first time in 30 years that Walk by Pantera has been played as he entered and actually was paid for and not used illegally.
Tony Khan got all this money.
That's fantastic. I think that what was cool for me is it tesseracts my brain. If you get that reference, good for you. Thank you for reading books. I had a moment of going, hey, I know this entrance. I've seen it. And to see the pan back of the crowd and see, like, maybe, I don't know, 100 people out of 20,000 stand up knowing exactly who was coming. And right as I went, oh shit, that's Rob Van. He walks out like, that is Rob Van Dam. Oh, so that throw to ECW was beautiful. I thought that was cool.
And if you listen to the audio, there's the pop for those that knew once the Pantera started, and it's built and built and built. People are chanting RVD. Then there was that lull. Jerry Lynn turns, and as soon as he steps out of that thing, it explodes back out, and you can pan back Jack Perry, and he's doing the best expression I've seen him do with, like, the, oh, I'm dead, because here he comes.
So Rob Van Dam comes to the ring. There's just sort of these words exchanged. Jack Perry takes his toys and goes home. Rob Van
Rob's like-
Dam.
Rob was smiling like he was high off his ass too. Like,
He was. That's what I was gonna say.
Like,
I don't.
I'm just
I
happy
mean-
to be here.
I had to look it up. I'm like, is marijuana legal in Florida?
The amount of painkillers Rob Van Dam's probably on just to whack. Right?
To whack.
To whack even. To whack and a whack on a whack day. I don't even think that. I mean, I'm surprised he knows where he is. Which is good.
Or that he could pull off the spin kick he did, which was not the best he's ever been, but he still
Yo.
pulled it off.
So Jack Perry leaves the ring. Rob Van Dam takes a moment. Jack Perry comes back in with the chair. Rob Van Dam ducks it, throws a beautiful spinning kick, Jean-Claude Van Damme style, like he always did. I thought he was going to connect with the chair and then really go old school with connecting with the chair into
A
Jack.
full Van Daminator, yeah.
Ooh, but missed. Dropped it. Came out. Jack Perry hides behind a child.
I think that was that was the best part. It was just like he literally
so
picks up a
good.
child and puts them in front as a shield. It was.
I don't
great.
know how it happened. That's one of those improv gifts from the gods. He jumped over the railing and kind of slipped and fell in a seat.
Yeah, he was in
And
the
they
wrong part of the
grabbed-
railing. He thought he was somewhere else to get out.
Yeah, so he grabs the child's in front of him, like, no, I don't know what to do, and then runs out from there.
I think that was
It's
planned because if you notice, like the mom and the daughter, they had like name tags and nobody else around them had name tags. So I was like, they were planted there.
That.
They could have been VIPs. I don't know if it was fully planned, but they definitely were VIPs.
I've also heard reports that somehow that mom and little girl are related to Jungle Boy somehow. Like,
that's perfect then.
or
That
like
makes
could have been like a cousin or something, which makes a lot of sense because Homegirl played it right. She wasn't freaking out like this random dude is touching me.
That makes sense. It was like
that-
Uncle Jack's doing that wrestling thing again.
Yep.
You got Jungle Jack Perry, you've got Prairie Dawn Perry, you've got, all the things he needs.
Which, by the way, I mean, I do want to say, like, I give Jerry Lynn Grace, I'm like, sir, he is not Jungle Boy no more. Like, he is Jack Perry. And it's like, listen,
I think
Jungle.
that's on
I'm like,
purpose.
sir.
I think that's the dig. Calling him Jungle. I think
good.
it's funny calling him Jungle.
Yeah, it pisses him off, which is even better. And then him running out of the ring.
I know.
So yeah, they set that up, and then of course we have later on in the night, Renee Paquette confirming that Rob Van Dam is going to take him on for the FTR title, and then he's going to retire the title like he retires everything else. I'm like, honestly, that's probably the best thing for this title. There are too many titles; it's not recognized. Give it back to an ECW original. No one needs it, and beat the crap out of Jack Perry so he can form the evil jungle threesome with Christian Cage and Luchasaurus.
I hate to burst that bubble, but I don't think that match will happen next week, but it's not going to end in the way that you hope it's going to.
Probably not.
Because then we're going to get a rematch at All In, just saying.
So
Which, instead of building to All In and doing it once, they're going to do it twice.
all in, all out, all for one. Every
No,
AEW
we talked about
Start
this,
with all.
Professor. We talked about this,
together now.
Professor. Absolutely
It's
not.
It's perfect though.
All in the family.
All in the family.
All around the mulberry bush.
All around the world. All the alls. Just name them all. That's gonna be great.
Speaking about
so
all
it's
around the
good.
world, we
So
got
something we forgot that I think happened right before this was the Tony Khan look at me, I'm a cardboard statue.
He reminds me of that one
talking
kid
about
in the group project that is definitely afraid of speaking in front of people, and he's just staring. He's like,
Thank you for joining us here at All Out in Winnipeg.
It looks like, and JVL will get this, a puppet, when you just leave a puppet on your desk, that kind of look, where it's just,
And it's not the scared look. It's just the I'm remembering everything or reading the teleprompter.
I'm like, Tony, like, if I'm being completely honest, like, the implications of what I'm about to say might be bad, but I'm like, if you're going to have somebody do announcements, like, get somebody with some charisma, like, let Stokely Hathaway do these announcements.
But he's better in front of the live crowd.
I know, bro.
Tony Khan live in San Francisco, he had 30 seconds, he blew the door off. Like, everyone was like, look at him here. He's dressed up. He's talking directly to us. He's talking about San Francisco and San Francisco wrestling history and dropping names.
Yeah.
Dude is charismatic in front of thousands of people. You put him in front of a camera, told him to do a job. He forgot how to hold the mic. His wrist is broken.
Yep. Because he's
And
also
then
boomed.
the cameras, I don't want to say they set him up, but they didn't do him any.
They set him up.
They didn't help him at all. They didn't set him up.
I honestly hope with this that it's a long-term rib that he's basically making fun of Vince McMahon on camera.
I hope that's
But
what
I don't
that is.
know.
I really
I
hope
have
that.
no idea.
Okay, so let's talk about this montage real quick, because it went through, like, some of the greatest hits, if you want to call them.
Yeah. How many
for
WWE superstars can you count in this AEW?
Okay, so production team, Tony Khan, this is my first strike against you for the night because I'm watching this footage.
Not the first match.
I mean, here's the thing. I knew that first match was going to be ass. So, like, my expectations were already low. But I'm sitting here and I'm looking and they're showing the highlighted. And I was just like, sir, I know not every match was a complete 5 out of 5, but I'm like, some of the matches you picked made no sense to me. Like, the ones that definitely deserved to be there was definitely the lights out match between Thunder and Britt, where we got the iconic Britt bleeding all over the place.
Sure.
The parking lot brawl between Santana and Ortiz and Best Friends definitely deserved to be there. And of course, I love
the needed to for a setup later in the night. So
I'm sad. I don't think this match is going to be as great. I was wondering, I was like, they showed the first Stadium Stampede match that had Kenny in it, but where was the second one that they had when they were at the Jaguar Stadium? Because to me, that one was so much campier and funner. But that one didn't get.
Where Matt Hardy got the concussion, really bad one, by getting like basically.
No, that was the Falls Count Anywhere match between him and Sammy at a different pay-per-view. Also, by the way, maybe it was like too quick, but I didn't see the Young Bucks versus Lucha Brothers steel cage match for the tag titles in that sequence.
That never happened. It was ass. Nobody remembers that match. It was a terrible match, Mikey.
Oh, don't even play coy with me, listen, John. Here.
Oh! You're making fun of the professor on this one too. I love.
I'm the one.
Talking to.
That's me.
This is my
come into our review. You take over this review with us, and now you can't remember which John you're talking to.
No, listen, fuck you, because. See, this is my biggest beef. Once again, professional wrestling doesn't like Latin wrestlers. I was like, unless I missed it, I did not see that steel cage match anywhere, and that was like the best match. I mean, though,
fine. And Latin people hate Johns. It's okay to not like us.
We also,
Juan.
I had lots of questions like Jade and Shaq versus Cody and Brandy. I was just like, actually, that match was more entertaining than it should have been. But there were so many other matches that did not get put on this thing. I was just like, this is depressing. And you're missing.
Also, what happens when Mikey's with us? He just continues to roll through his stuff that he needs to get done because he won't go on these tangents with us. He's very professional, unfortunately.
Thank you, Mikey. I counted at least 3 superstars who aren't there anymore because now they're in other promotions.
You have so many people on the roster and not a lot of some of the best matches. Like the Acclaimed winning the tag titles was there, but where was their dumpster match against the Guns? Because that was actually really good.
That's one when we first started said podcast a year plus ago that I was sent. And then you got to watch this one. It just happened. And I went, oh my God, this is wild.
To be fair to this, I believe at least specifically in that part, Mikey, the Guns and the Acclaimed dumpster match was on Rampage. So if they were showing anything, it was clips from Dynamite, and it may not have been from the show.
Oh, is that
Because they
true?
weren't celebrating AEW. They were celebrating Dynamite.
I don't give a fuck.
I know you don't. You can't even get the right John right here. You give no F's. But
I don't.
Way, I can see that. And plus, also, then if that's the case, also that's the reason the Lucha Brother cage match wasn't on there. That was a pay-per-view. It wasn't a full AEW thing. It was pulling from Dynamite itself.
So was this? So was this a celebration?
Is
Was this a celebration of Dynamite?
Yes, it was Dynamite's 200th episode.
So Mikey, I see the point of we're celebrating AEW Dynamite being on the air. So there's sort of the promotion versus JVL kind of saying, well, this is what happened only on Dynamite. I kind of was indifferent. I was like, you're showing me promos from people that aren't here or I haven't thought of in a while in the first half of that. And then all of a sudden it jumps to the end where it's, hey, look, Adam Cole and MJF did this. Bye. It's like, oh, it's over.
There were still a lot of superstars matches you could have shown if it was specifically for Dynamite, but they showed they literally just showed the roster of available wrestlers on Fight Forever. Yes, I said it.
Sure.
Except it didn't though.
Fight Forever, still too expensive. Wait another month. Cody Rhodes was in that promo like 4 times. They showed the same shot of Cody with the light behind him in the shadow 4 times.
Yeah, in a secondary promotion, which is so weird.
Which is really
Ooh, don't even get me started. I was like, Hunter, I know, but even still, bro, I was like, damn, sir. I was like, we just cutthroat out here.
But we're still on Dynamite for the 200th Dynamite here. So we saw the promo package that went through there. Very well edited, but very quick cuts. Didn't have everything Mikey wanted because AEW has more shows than Dynamite. And in general, pulled from what it could, but could have done better. Could have showcased more of the wrestlers. Mikey, they're not going to see your face anyways. If you flip me off one more time, it's not going to be there. I'm going to take the brunt here because I love you to death, and I just feel like getting you angry at me is a lot more fun. But
don't worry, you're going to get a lot more of that later.
Oh, no. I get to do my thing on my own tomorrow because someone needs to get up early to do other stuff. So
I said I could have gotten up earlier, but you wouldn't let me. I let you win that argument.
Dad, I'm in the other room. Like,
shut up, other John. No, I'm just kidding.
I'm gonna leave the country for a while.
No,
I recommend the Netherlands.
I mean, technically, we had an international mix of people, I guess, if you want to call it that, for this next match.
You mean Canadians?
I guess. Penta's not Canadian.
He's not Canadian. No, but so we had, for me, this next match, it was a triple threat kind of anything goes match, so hardcore match. But it was we've done the match with the tag teams. We did the match with the singles to get to the tag team one beforehand the week before. We still haven't figured out what the hell we're doing with all these folks, and we need something to fill time on here that Tony Khan could have been a fucking women's match. Anyway, we also need to harken back to the hardcore parts of Dynamite, and so let's get Jon Moxley in to make everyone bleed. Let's get Trent Beretta in here.
But Mox didn't bleed. That was the crazy part.
His back did. His head didn't, but his back did.
So
we don't count that.
I don't. This match, I felt that they were all kind of meh about it. Going in, like they did their entrance, right? But then they got in the ring, and this one was filled with miscues, filled with waiting for the next person to make a move. Lots of communication, like holds and what are you doing? What are you thinking? Checking in with each other the entire time. I don't know if they had time to talk about this beforehand. It came off a little slapdash, as it were.
My moment of the night, not the match, but the moment was in this match though, with the Canadian Destroyer off the top rope into the tables.
Why was it called an Avalanche Destroyer?
Because avalanche moves are performed off the turnbuckles to get more height and anything else. If you get up there to do your finisher, it's called an avalanche, whatever it is.
So a Canadian Destroyer evolves into an Avalanche Destroyer.
Yes, Rhea Ripley is known in WWE for doing an avalanche riptide where she gets him up on the top turnbuckle and then jumps off of it to use the gravity of the thing to give more propelling down to it.
All right. I knew not that term. Thank you for the lesson.
This has been Learning Corner with the Professor.
Hi, an avalanche is a thing. I don't understand.
Can we just put something out there where he's like, an avalanche is a thing. The big thing, just this thing.
I will say, Mikey, I'm having a really hard time not doing the thing that you think that I'm thinking of, just because of all these jokes per second.
Just do it.
I can't do it. I don't want to ruin it yet. Well, wait.
Do it.
I might give JVL a hint in a minute.
Yes.
Particularly because of this match. There's a reason why.
Yes.
So all these things happen. There was moments where Moxley's just hanging out the turnbuckle, just waiting and waving by himself. Sort of. Okay, I have a love-hate with thumbtacks for a few reasons now. I've watched videos about folks, and it's the most painful, disturbing, awful thing to do in a wrestling match. And apparently it has to be 100% real, because it's actually safer to do that 100% real than to put dull thumbtacks into your body, or to take the actual things off. You can there's thumbtacks, whatever, fine. Jon Moxley does this weird swerve to open the bag. And it came off to me like Jon Moxley doesn't even care. The audience seemed like they were not interested in a hardcore match.
Here's the reason I can give you for at least why I expect that to be. One, Moxley spreads him around that way like he doesn't care, because he honestly doesn't care about that stuff, because he's like, I'll take this and it's fun for me. But the problem for us is watching this so far, we have seen thumbtacks every week for a month and a half.
Yeah.
The spot's been done, and it's been done multiple times. The only thing that this one made me really go really weird about is I've never seen someone pile driven into tacks. So you're getting them in the top of your head.
Which was interesting, because Jon Moxley really took the bump on that, because he just sat on the tacks.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, and they said it on commentary a couple times, like, Moxley sacrificed himself to pull that off. He did the cutter into him, too. And the problem is the way he spread them, they were all over the mat and not in a place where they could have spots done. So you could see Beretta trying to get around it, and, like, it's what Ibushi talked about. I'm pretty sure they went through his boots and they were hitting his feet, so he couldn't walk well while he was doing it. And Penta was just like, I love when he stripped his shirt off to put him into him afterwards, which was even funnier.
Yeah.
But you know,
And I don't think it was acting like the sort of arm nervous thing that he was doing for the rest of the match. It was like, nope,
No.
that's your nervous system. That's pain. That's
Yeah.
what that looks like.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like even what was it? The suplex onto the table, I want to say at one point. They both go through the table. They're next to each other. It looks like they're going to have a conversation. They're just chilling. There's no
each other because
there's no stakes. There's nothing at
No.
risk. They're just sitting there like, hey, yeah, what are you thinking? Hey, what are you... to the point where the camera has to cut away from them while they
that's the
talk
next step in the match.
on a couch.
Yeah.
I don't know. It just felt clunky.
There's been no
and-
break from really hardcore action, especially if the BCC is involved, for a couple months now. And while that's kind of their thing of like these deathmatch type of things are really intense, I think they need to pivot again. We're not having Danielson there, who is very much like the technical aspect of it, which like gets in there with Claudio and will like stretch a guy for an hour. It's gone to, we are now Moxley's crew. Moxley needs to bleed every freaking week. Whereas I think they need to pull back on that and go, okay, we've done the hardcore aspect of this, which I know if they set this up for Wembley like they're looking with Moxley versus Cassidy, it's just going to be an international title match in a cage or something, like, which is going to be death for everybody. But they need to like pivot off of that and have them do like, Wheeler Yuta is such a beautiful technician. He doesn't need to bleed every time. Get him to do a mousetrap pin or something else. Claudio is strong, needs to work on his presentation. But he's strong. Let him just beat somebody up. You don't need to have everybody stuck with pins every week now.
And I think that's what, and Mikey and I have ranted on this too, and so you and I, when you don't know what to do, throw everybody at the ring.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, I don't know where to go. Great. So you're going to enter, you're going to enter, you're going to enter, and you're going to enter. And then what are the Hardy Boys doing? I don't know. Put them in there. Make them walk down the mat too. Like, what is happening?
It was a schmoz in the middle that honestly was better than the Elite match. At least it was fun to watch. Versus this.
No, you're right.
It was just, it didn't need to be there. And so I'm not going to address what Mikey just did, but that's okay. But in general, both of those matches could have been replaced with a better women's match because you have
absolutely could have. You have a whole women's roster that's hungry to do all the things and put the time in. Who care? Not just let's do blood and guts because we're on cable and people want to watch.
But I'd watch a blood and guts match with the women's roster. Get Abbott on in there, kicked in the face with a mouthful of tacks.
Absolutely,
well, she's hurt, but anything else. You had Penelope Ford and like Anna Jay and the Bunnies coming back. Like these folks have like taken women's hardcore wrestling farther than Mox ever could. You could have showcased that because you've had enough Dynamite things where they've done that, where they've closed the show out to do that stuff. Yeah. But no, let's see John Moxley bleed and get on thumbtacks again for the 18,000th time with no build.
Hey, Mikey, go. Go, Mikey, go. Go, Mikey, go.
Okay, so this is my first. This
that
is
was the professor telling you that, Mikey.
I know.
Just letting you know.
I know. You know what? I may put my video up here now. So first of all, fuck you. I was kidding. No,
you're not kidding. That's okay.
No, I wouldn't say that. Like I don't mean that. So this is my second hot take. So
the hawk take.
The hot take.
Hawk is a bird.
So
hawk is a thing.
I can't believe I would ever say this, and people can come for me. Frankly, I don't really care. I'm okay if Blackpool Combat Club takes a couple weeks off of television. I don't need to see them on my TV screen.
I absolutely agree. Keep talking.
Yep. Oh, please.
The only real person that I really need to see, because if we're building up to an international championship match at the Wembley show, the only person that I really need to see every week is Mox, and that's about it. Wheeler and Claudio, I love you, but you're not adding anything to this just to fill space. And don't get me wrong, I'm interested to see how this parking lot brawl on Rampage happens between best friends. By the way, Chucky T finally cursing on television was a thing of a beauty.
So good.
They bleeped him out. I was like, yes, Chucky, I love you.
This has to happen, but Trent's mom's going to show up in the minivan. I know.
I'm so excited. That's like the one thing that's the only saving grace to this whole thing is like Sue is the best thing on AEW television.
Keep talking about this. I saw someone else mention this on the internet, and I was like, that sounds hilarious.
Sue is like the best. Sue is the best like non-NPC character in AEW wrestling universe ever.
Gosh.
John, if you can go back to the COVID era and check out, Trent went out with a major neck surgery for like a month or two after that brawl.
This entrance was amazing.
That they got in Daly's place when Trent, no one knew he was coming back, and Sue's minivan drives into the stadium. Trent gets out, gives Sue a kiss, and goes in and beats the hell out of the people in the
It is amazing. It is so camp. It is great.
There was someone that I kind of hope this, but it won't happen. But someone was saying, wouldn't it be funny if Sue pulls up and joins the BCC?
That would be amazing. Like she turns on her son. That'd be hilarious. That would
John Moxley just puts his arm over her.
Honestly, like I would be okay with that. That'd be hilarious. But
because the other way to pull it off is have Renee pull up in the minivan.
God,
for John.
I love. If Renee went to that level of camp, I think she would like become my all-time favorite like wrestling personality.
Yeah.
Like backstage, she could do it all. Backstage interview, have a kid, have a podcast, like amazing announcing.
Renee, have us on. We'd love to talk to you. But I'm with you, Mikey, on this part about it. BCC needs to take time off for me for the reasons. Claudio needs to go back to ROH and actually like do
and remind everyone that he's the Ring of Honor champion, you guys.
Exactly. And like also, if you want Yuta on your screens, instead of like these major group matches, have Yuta fight like, you know, somebody on the mid card. Like have him go up against Jack Perry right now and just have a technical match that'll be fun, no good reason, and have the BCC come out and beat the crap out of Jack Perry afterwards. Like it's not that hard.
No, it's not.
To get this thing without having them all involved and just have Moxley with taxes back.
Speaking of which, as a side tangent, they did announce this when they were doing the bumpers, but I'm more upset that I can't review Ring of Honor because supposedly the main event is going to be that pure championship match, and it makes me upset.
Yes.
The one time I actually wanted. Yeah.
I gotta watch all these other. I gotta check out Ring of Honor because those
you
folks
join me for ROH.
Please do. Yes. Tell me. Let me tell you.
Now.
Do it.
Wait, is Ring of Honor tonight, technically?
Technically, yes. But you can watch it anytime. It's not on television. It's on the app.
That's right.
And y'all have my login. But anyways, yeah, I think the only person that I need to see if we're building towards All In is Mox. Claudio needs to go back to Ring of Honor, find Wheeler something to do, stick him on. Honestly, if you can find a way to stick Wheeler on, not Rampage, because Rampage is where dreams go to die now.
But he can't be on Collision right now away from everybody. He's got to be by himself.
I know.
So the goal here is John Moxley versus Orange Cassidy at All In, All Out, All In and Out Burger.
Just All In because
All In Out Burger.
Well, I'm gonna save my big rant for the end because I have issue with these pay-per-views being so back to back to each other. It's ridiculous, but whatever. Lucha Brothers are lost in the mix, man. Penta took the pin up dip. Yeah, Penta took the pin in this one.
He did. And by the way, get into that ending point. Trent got the win. Trent doesn't win.
I know.
I'm so happy Trent got the win.
I was shocked. I was like, he always gets jobbed out to lose. But I'm also upset. I'm like, okay, so now we're doing Best Friends versus Blackpool Combat Club leading into Wembley. So Lucha Brothers are gonna get tossed to the side. Okay, cool.
So Mikey, I've changed my mind, Mikey. I'm gonna keep it a secret. Make sure you all watch our SummerSlam review. You'll find out what I'm talking about in SummerSlam.
I'm so excited.
God damn it! I have to wait that long to figure it out.
It's literally in a couple of days.
Yeah, and I'm in tech rehearsals for the show I'm in all weekend.
Oh, that sounds like a you problem.
I'll say this to you, JVL, and this is bad podcasting for everyone else. If you do detective work, you can totally figure out what the surprise is going to be. But that's all I'm going to say.
Yes.
Great. And you know how good I am at Clue.
Are you not good at Clue?
I'm okay. My partner's better.
It's always the candlestick.
So what you're telling me is that I will school you in Clue? Hell yes.
Okay, so we wrap all that. We do all that to come to this. We come to the MJF promo, right? There's nothing in between.
Yes.
Am I wrong?
Yes,
okay.
Because we needed a 30-minute promo from MJF, which, by the way,
Lord have mercy. Like, I have questions.
So I have a lot of questions on this. I'll talk about what I liked and then what I hope doesn't happen. Yeah. I like that MJF went for the vulnerability card, played the empathy thing, and was brought down some of the MJF shtick to just be Max, which is great. Was honest. It's always tricky, and theater people will tell you this, actors will tell you this. When you're commenting on your own vulnerability, you're not really being vulnerable anymore.
It's performative.
It's performative now? Like, look at me, I'm trying to be vulnerable. It's like, okay, well, that's putting up a shield to keep you from not being vulnerable. That's a psychologist and a therapy thing. So he made the attempt. Great. Brought a lot of things out there. Tampa loved him. I think this was the first time I heard the crowd most of the evenings. Like, oh, hey, they're there for this. I mean, the Rob Van Dam intro, sure. But they were engaged. They were on it. They were going back and forth.
I love the line. A lot of people have sympathy for the devil in Tampa.
Yeah, it's a good line.
Yeah.
I loved the fact that it was like, I'm still a scumbag. And then the
He's
chant
our
of, he's our
scumbag.
scumbag. He's our scumbag. And you just see MJF go, that I'm over. That works.
He's
I can
getting
say
everything
anything,
over.
and they
It's
love.
so good.
I really thought that was cool. My concern
Mhm.
and my sadness, because I think this is what's going to happen, they're going to bloodline us. They're going to make this be the 30, 40-minute spot of every Dynamite or wherever they want to put it, where we got to sit here and go, all right, here's 30, 40 minutes of this love triangle and who likes who and who doesn't like who, because it just got bigger
Who doesn't
and
like
bigger.
Hugh? Hugh is wonderful.
Hugh is great. Hugh's a nice guy. Hugh
He's
hasn't
a
worked in a
singular
while.
Borg who is amazing, and he has his own thoughts and feelings. Hugh is amazing.
That's fair. I was talking about the other Hugh that got caught in his car and had a hot wife.
Oh,
But
yeah.
the problem is there's a lot of, they don't know what to do with these vulnerable storylines, or even WWE with these family storylines. And then Adam Cole comes out. We'll talk about that in a second. I don't need generic white guy flipping a table. It doesn't make sense to me now.
That was overly aggressive, by the way. I was just
I
like,
know.
damn.
I don't want you to be my friend.
I also have a
No
small.
longer makes sense.
But apparently the Kingdom do.
Okay.
Give me more Matt Taven.
I'm gonna
man.
wait until we get to that because I have questions, concerns, and like my eyebrow was raised during that part.
Well,
So
you
I
know why
love-
they had to do that, right?
No.
I
'Cause Kyle
do.
O'Reilly's still out.
I know.
Say
I
what?
do.
Because Kyle O'Reilly is still out on injury. If he was there, this would be the Undisputed Era versus MJF type of thing, where like
Oh,
the families get pulled, but they don't have the entirety of it. So Roderick Strong is playing what Kyle O'Reilly would have done and goes nuts, which is even funnier in the neck brace.
I guess.
He overdid it. I was just like, Roderick, I need you to take it down a couple of
That
notches.
dude's not getting any direction, and MJF and Adam Cole are just running circles around him. I love the fact, I do love that we get the potential for another 30-minute match like we had with
Yes.
MJF and Adam Cole a month or two back before, that kicked off this whole sitcom, which has been beautiful. I love that we have that. I love that it's the illusion of being honorable. I do know where we're going. Someone's going to screw someone. They're going to mess with this
Oh,
friendship.
Adam
I-
Cole's
and-
fully going to be like turn.
Something's going to happen.
They're gonna screw each other. And here's why I'm figuring this.
Giggity.
One, you've got what everyone's talking about is the pat on the back that looks like stabbing in the back, which he did to Roderick Strong in NXT before he fucked him over.
Uh-huh.
But then Cole didn't read the contract. Cole just signed it. So
Sure.
there's something in the contract for like they don't know what the steps are on that match. No
Sure.
one has said it yet. In the next
Could
couple
be.
weeks, we're gonna find out. Oh, MJF is like, no. I've said it. I've stacked the deck against you because I know generic white guy is gonna come out and mess things up.
Sure.
But
And
then
I
also-
hate...
yeah.
Go ahead.
No. I was just is Roderick Strong then going to cost Cole the title at All In so
That's
that
what
at
I
All Out they have the rematch and Cole goes over.
And then at All In and Out, they eat burgers, and it's another restaurant match like we have with
And play
Jared.
Magic and come from Magic the Gathering tournament.
Gathering.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
And they play
they
Magic.
have to be slathered in mustard and placed on the griddle before they go in, and then they're going to be.
It's a
put in
griddle
little buns.
match? We
Oh,
turn
yeah,
the
it's a griddle
griddle
match.
on, and it's
Yeah,
three pinned on the griddle? That'd be
Haven't you played Fight
amazing.
Forever yet?
There's a griddle match?
They've got mini games out the wazoo. There's got to be a griddle match for all
That'd be
in and out.
fantastic. No, and I'm sad because I think it's an end to this beautiful, funny-ass sitcom that we've had going for 2 months. I think they're going to cap it. They're going to find a way to end it. And I've enjoyed it, and it's fun.
It is.
And there's a part of me that I think the two of them really, really like it, but they're smart and they don't want to get stuck in it. But this is the only one that I'm like, I wanted to keep going. I like this. But
And I've been very happy to have the 30-minute promos be fun versus having the whole thing with the stupid Jericho Appreciation Society, which was eating clock for the month beforehand. Like
Right.
this has been interesting.
So there's a few avenues and alleyways that this can go. Mikey, you have opinions. I can see them. What are you thinking?
Exploding out of his head.
Look, I'm trying my best here because this is not my show. I'm just here to run
No,
the tech.
Mikey,
We're an
you
hour
are,
already, we're not even
you
through the card
are
yet.
a
That's-
beautiful, beautiful veteran, and you run this show. You're welcome anytime. Go ahead.
Okay, so I'm gonna start with the ending of this promo because maybe it's just me, but like this once again I have issues with, because I understand why the Kingdom got brought in, because they have ties to Adam Cole, since Kyle O'Reilly is still out injured and Bobby Fish has gone missing like on a milk carton somewhere.
Where's the lie?
Like for reals, like he went missing like a milk carton.
He went to MMA and he's been fighting in there for a bit.
Yeah, because I don't know all the tea, but he apparently, I guess he royally fucked up something really bad.
Non grata in the business, not even like AEW. Like
he's literally,
no one will hire him.
He blacklisted himself, but I don't know all the tea. But that'll be
maybe,
for
when you picked out of Impact Wrestling, that thing that I heard about that has a great women's division. You're done. Like no one's gonna hire you on the indies for anything like that.
He had one appearance and he was being booed out the building. It was intense.
Do we know what happened? Or
we'll talk off camera. We'll talk off camera.
Off camera.
But I understand why. Yeah, so I understand why the Kingdom got brought in, because of ties to Adam Cole, and Kyle O'Reilly is not out. But then I'm just like, I'm so frustrated that they're pulling people to be on multiple shows. I was like, no, I don't want to stifle the Kingdom to just Ring of Honor, but they're doing such a great work in Ring of Honor. Like, stop pulling people. You're trying to, as the ring,
John,
one of the Ring of Honor's reviewers, stop pulling people from Ring of Honor to use on AEW television after you said you're trying to establish your own roster in Ring of Honor.
So here you go, Professor. You were asking earlier, is Tony Khan having other people interfere with his stuff and make it not make sense and all that stuff? No, he's not. He's got FU money. He doesn't care. He's just trying to book 7 shows. So he's not paying attention there. And the people he has under him aren't smart enough to do what he needs to do. When he focuses on a show, it gets better-ish. Again, we'll talk later in the show. But in general, this has been the thing Mikey and I have complained about mostly with ROH, is that the champion's off on Dynamite doing stuff, so we have no one on ROH cares about Claudio being the champion.
The only champion that has been featured regularly on Ring of Honor television is Athena, and I love Athena. But the problem is because you keep pulling women to go do different things in AEW. Athena literally has ran through every single woman in Ring of Honor they currently have, as well as like half of the AEW roster.
And yet, they won't pull down Anna Jay or you can't do Ty Mello right now because she's pregnant. But like a bunch of the people you're not using on Dynamite TV could be on ROH. That's a whole separate talk for the ROH.
I know Athena versus Riho versus Abaddon versus Anna Jay. Like Penelope Ford is still like.
Penelope.
I love Penelope.
So it makes sense to me that Tony Khan has ultra super villain money. And just people around him saying, yes, do this, yes, do this, yes, do this.
He's like the grandma in the telenovela. She's the villain because she got all the money, so she basically messes with everybody in every way possible. He has that telenovela grandma money.
That's fine. I'm always rooting for grandma. Maybe I'm a horrible person.
No, we feel better because we get our asses beat.
I just feel that I get the idea that it's spread thin, because now there's Dynamite, Rampage, Collusion, Ring of Honor. Gosh.
Collusion.
Sorry.
He keeps I just let it. Literally, that's what it is. Because like somebody's colluding. Because this show's so much better than Dynamite half the time.
But so many, what is happening? So many things. You got all these shows to fill, right? And people to take care of. Fine. So you're playing the hot hand. I get it. But these, like you're saying, the focus is just so disjointed. So it looks like people are just meddling and switching things. And I'm wondering, and hopefully this isn't true, if these are the cracks we're starting to see with the wrestlers. They're disinterested in certain matches. They're disinterested in certain towns. They're not a part of certain storylines. Things were really strong about 6 months ago, and now we're kind of fading.
See, here's what I attested to. Dynamite is currently going through the same problem that me and Minnie mentioned during our Raw review earlier this week. Is that you have such a big roster, but you're getting the same 4 or 5 big acts every single week on Dynamite. And I'm just like, I said this during the Raw review, you have such a big roster for Monday Night Raw, a la what Dynamite has. They have such a big, AEW has a big roster. You mean to tell me you can't rotate? All right, so if we look at a month, so let's say you're going to break A and B storylines. So I was like, all right, all the A stories, you get the first and the third weeks. And then the B storylines, you get the second and the fourth weeks. But we have if you're not wrestling on the show, you do promos, like you break it down that way where one set of talent will be wrestling or on air while the other set is still involved in video packages or like pre-shot promos.
And you've got that place built into it that if something like pops off on the first week of the month, you ride that all the way through. You have a hot hand segment. So like with the MJF and Adam Cole thing, if that didn't hit, they couldn't have written that, but like you could have rode that the same way.
Exactly.
But it doesn't take everything else you're doing. Yeah, that makes
and that's what
yeah.
scares me is that they start doing a bloodline thing where all of a sudden now you're going to kill it by making it 30, 40, 50, 60 minutes long all the time.
Let's talk about it. So let's review who's on the show pretty much every single fucking week for the last month or so. Let's just look at the summer season. So the people that have been on my television screen pretty much all summer is the Elite, Blackpool Combat Club. That's pretty much it. That's been
Orange Cassidy.
I mean, honestly, Orange to me is like a non-factor because he's actually killing the game right now, and I don't mind him because at least he's defending the title on television.
Wait, JVL, say that again.
Orange Cassidy.
You couldn't resist, could you?
We're gonna have to pay royalties on that. That's gonna be terrible.
Oh, don't worry. For some reason, OBS doesn't pick up the audio, but the Bears do, and I don't use the Bear audio for that.
I see.
But we might for SummerSlam. Oh no, you found it
everyone.
too.
Bad podcasting. If you look up from there, JVL.
Yeah, I'm looking up.
There's a whole bunch of things we've had in the tank for you.
It doesn't matter what your name is.
I'm sorry, we gotta stop doing that.
This is gonna go. But yeah, so Elite Blackpool Combat Club has been pretty much the staple for the majority of the summer. Orange Cassidy, and then
your mid card's been like Christian Cage and Luchasaurus and whoever they're dealing with, and like.
Ooh, I learned why Wardlow had to drop the title, and it was kind of intense.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Wow.
And then I was just like, and then you could talk about all the women. Oh wait, never mind.
No. You can talk. There are two women. There are 4 women that have been on every show: Britt Baker and the Outcasts.
And we still have yet. Yeah.
Yeah.
No. Oof. I'm gonna save it for later. But
Are we?
I mean, okay. So speaking, because I was mentioning the Elite, do we have to talk about this match? Because this was the most indifferent I've ever felt.
So for those,
I literally went to the bathroom.
I think that if you and Minnie and I are using this for SmackDown. If SmackDown is 2 out of 10 minis, then we're not gonna review it or talk about it. If the match is 2 out of 10, we don't have to talk about it. This one's probably like 2.5, so we can make a flip of the coin. Do we really want to talk about this?
I went to the bathroom. That's how bored I was.
I have one thing to say about this,
which
is going to lead into later. This could have been a women's match and been much better. Thank you.
Oh, you're absolutely right.
Also, by the way, this is just a personal thing. Like, the fanboys of AEW will come for me, but the ending promo with the Elite and Hangman about re-signing with AEW, I'm like, maybe it's just me and the way I personally feel about certain things. I'm like, it kind of left a bad taste in my mouth a little bit.
So I'm going to say something about this because this is what they do whenever they close shows. They always have that promo. Like, that's what Kenny Omega does to send them home. This is where I was talking about before, where there were some matches that had to have been moved around because of reasons.
Sure.
After Tony Khan got lambasted last week and everyone in the world went after the women's division, look what he moved to the main event spot. And Tony Storm, which they deserved. They deserved.
That match was actually fire.
My match of the night. I am fully assuming this match probably was going to be the main event, and it may not have been Jeff Jarrett to be in it. And they turned it this week because they were trying to garner some better press for what they did. And it worked to a point, but it made it so this match didn't need to be there. So you basically wasted what everyone already knew. You put the Elite out there, who we're all kind of sick of right now, for a bit, like take a week or two off or split up a bit and do some stuff. That was going to be the ending, and that was going to be the go home for Raw 200, AEW Dynamite 200, where it was literally Raw 1000. That's basically what they were trying to do.
All the promotions are fucking up the women's booking.
But it would have been that would have been the ending of the show with Kenny Omega saying goodnight to the crowd like he did in the first one. It's the same type of thing, saying they had signed. So I see that as this had been a plan changed on the fly and was not put together well. And didn't need to be there.
That makes sense when you put it that way. Why this just felt like such an afterthought of a match.
It was.
There was stuff. There were misses all over the place. Sanjay, I don't know if Sanjay even wants to be a wrestler. It just seems like he's kind of there.
He's the manager.
There was a great story. I have to find the podcast it was on where it talks about when he was discovered and how he was discovered and how like basically this was like a shiesty promoter in India who was putting out like they were trying to send him to basketball teams first. Like then this is like, promoting this humongous guy who can play basketball, all these things. And he'd never played a day in his life, but he was over 7 something, and they basically tricked the Mavericks into drafting him or something, whatever else it was, whoever he played for.
Really?
And then they did the same thing to him, getting him to be a wrestler because he didn't do well at the NBA level. And so now they've passed him off because he's big to somebody else that'll take him. So there's
Satnam's being tossed around.
It's not his
That
fault. It's the people
sucks.
around him that are basically taking money from him for being his, handlers. And so like he's
See,
making
and
all
that
this
makes
money.
me sad from like hearing compared to other big men and folks that are just here because they're large. Like hearing that's messed up. That makes me sad.
He's in the same mold as El Gigante or the giant Gonzalez who had the giant 8 bodysuit on. It's the same story, and he's trying. Honestly, I feel like if Vince McMahon had his way, he'd have him versus Omos and just basically jizz everywhere. But it's.
I have a great idea. I have a great idea.
Oh, and
threw up
Mount Sanjay.
I threw up in my mouth.
Ugh.
I
So
think
it didn't need to happen. That's all I want to say about it. It didn't need to happen. It was moved, and something else was put in the main event that was much better.
was there any question that the Elite and Young Bucks and all that were gonna leave? AEW?
Absolutely.
There was. There was a lot of
Really?
it.
There was a lot of
It started a
reports.
year ago, yeah.
Oh,
This
a
is-
year ago.
This has been it started a year ago, but then it gradually got more and more, I guess, louder and louder as we got closer. And then we get the announcement that they all re-signed for a couple of years, and then they reiterated after the match, and that's where I can't believe I'm going to say this. I kind of lost a little bit of respect to the four of them. I was just like, listen, the news report came out literally hours before the show even started. Like, we didn't need to put it on air. Like, Kenny, Bucks, like, Hangman, I love y'all, but I lost a little bit of respect for you during that bit.
Well, yeah, it does come off artificial.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That could also be the fact they brought up Collision, which they are saying now. Like the optimist in me is saying, I'm hoping that means that they're going to do business, and it'll be fun to see that finally happen because they'll make tons of money on Punk versus the Elite. All that
Sure.
stuff. But
Sure. That's in there. Yeah.
that's the optimism part of it. But the other part could be just another shot at like, we have all these things and this other show, which we got to talk about. Wink, wink.
I was like, Dynamite, I wouldn't brag right now because even though Collision's only like a month and a week old, like honestly, those 5 shows that we've gotten so far have actually probably been the best that AEW has been for me personally in the last couple of months or so.
And if it was on a better night of the week, people would be watching it. But that's the problem, is that people aren't watching it.
I mean, yeah.
It's
Okay.
tough.
I'm tired of talking about crappy stuff. Let's talk about some
So,
good. Let's
talk
talk about
about
some
something
good.
else.
Let's talk about
So
some
right
good
after-
shit.
Right after this, we go to this promo with Swerve Strickland and
Swerve is my hero. Best promo. Don't care.
This really cool behind the scenes promo. I at first I was kind of warming up to it. I wasn't sure where we were going, and then it was, hey, I made myself a home movie. Why don't you check it out? Once it cut to that, it had that weird grainy early 80s.
I
horror feel
loved
to
it. I loved
And I was
it.
like, okay,
Filmed it on a flip phone.
yeah, it was yeah, and the sound was on a potato, so it was a little
Yeah.
iffy. I had a meta moment here because part of me stopped and went, don't fuck this up. Please don't mess this up. Please make sure that, please don't mess this up. And I only have 1 or 2 things that I'm like, that could have been better because I'm in a lot of horror movies. I've killed a lot of teenagers. There's only 1 or 2 things in there that I was off camera. We'll talk off camera. So things that I was.
All right, guys. Well, that's gonna be the.
We'll see y'all next week. Oh, there's a blue dot above my house. I think that I like the grittiness of it, and it was so different than anything that has been done on AEW Dynamite or anything that I've seen anywhere else in any other promotions in quite a while. If you're listening to me, WWE Creative, this is what Shotzi and Bailey need. Stuff like this. But
Oof.
I
Okay.
yield the floor to you.
I wanna walk through this promo because I'm gonna break down the fun bits that I enjoyed from a film perspective because amateur filmist here. So we begin.
Amateur filmist.
Yes.
Amateur
Amateur
filmist.
filmist. I've never heard of a filmist before. So
Both of you
everybody
can
was
fuck right
impressed.
off. Anyways,
I study symbology.
How do you get paid to be a filmist?
Anyway, so this begins where they're like part of Mogul Embassy, because this is just Swerve and AR. They're like they're like those one kids that like always make TikTok videos in front of the stairwell. So it's literally just that. They're wearing.
You mean Darby Allin?
I mean, yes. And then they're like,
That's all I'm gonna see now.
they're wearing the mat. Literally, it's literally like Gen Z fashion, because they're also wearing the ski mask and everything, which is a big thing right now. But they cut a promo, and then we get into this transition of where they're at the Nick Wayne compound, and so they're walking up. I was like, who? I was like, Johnny Knoxville, did you order an episode of Jackass here? I was like, because that's how it started. I was just like, oh damn, how are we gonna do this? And then suddenly, so the garage door opens, and then AR and Swerve get in, and Swerve is just, I love Swerve as a heel, man. Like, he's just so good.
I'm here to train, guys.
It's just like, it's what I expected. It's a piece of shit.
There was something, and this is a great, and if you're a filmist, you know what I'm talking about. When you
Professional or amateur, though?
A little of both. It depends on the don't want to get demonetized.
Too late.
The tension that was built, and that was my only bit. If they had let this pacing milk a little longer, it would have had a full horror, oh man, this is all bad feel to it. I love, like you said, the nonchalant of, I'm just here to train. I've always wanted to train here. I never got invited here. I think AR Fox needs to tone it down just a little. He's a little too big, but he's right in the right wheelhouse. Other than that, you're right. All the subtle touches of this promo, from the moment they walk into that shed,
The tension was starting to build, and then all hell broke
there.
loose.
The fight breaks loose, hitting him. So the breakable glass with the portrait.
That
in the
was
face
such a
and
perfect,
bam,
like,
it was
the way they
double
angled
touch.
that shot was so good. I was just like, I had to rewind. I'm like, did it actually hit Nick in the head?
So,
No.
As a jaded filmologist, I wanted to not like it.
Oh yeah.
That's
really
fair.
wanted to be like, I don't want to like this because everybody does this and half-asses it. But that phone call with Darby at the end of that little bit there, the
Forcing him
talking,
to unlock his phone.
Yes, that was a nice.
like the little,
Also-
those little touches.
Also, by the way, the cameraman I want to give kudos to, because Nick bladed himself off camera and wasn't caught on film with it.
So I have a problem with the blood.
That was a lot.
Because from where I was, that was bad fake blood.
Yeah. That's
Yes,
what I saw,
I
too.
totally agree.
Because
as an amateur filmist, you might not pick up on that, but as a semi-professional filmist, you can see the fake.
All right, guys, I'm gonna leave.
so when you wrestlers bleed all the time, and when you have scars and scarring on your forehead, yes, you bleed a lot quickly. However, just as a filmologist, if you're cutting your head and you're bleeding and you're on the ground, the blood doesn't get from here all the way down your shirt. And blood, when it gets on a white shirt, doesn't really spread. It kind of stays there. So there was a lot of watered down blood, which tells me that it was spray and quick apply, which I'll shout out to a Chicago company called Gravity and Momentum, who makes Blood Jam or various other blood products. That's kind of what it does. You water it down quickly and it stays in one location. It's great for horror rooms and haunted houses. I miss those guys. They're fantastic. But they bought good, high quality Hollywood blood and they did it fast.
Yeah.
I'm not knocking them as a horror film. I just see that and I go, I know what that was. But they did trick me long enough to where I had to watch it closely. Like, I wonder how they did that. That's what they did. Okay.
And then of course,
Promo
Yep.
overall, it evoked what it was supposed to do. It played off of what was
Swerve is out here
Swerve,
being
like,
a
giving
mafia boss
call.
all of a sudden.
Yeah. And the fact, like, the line of it coming, like, your demons are coming back to bite you, Darby. They're coming back for you and all things. And him basically, like I said, pulling pieces of Darby's past to go after him. He's going to collect them all and use them like Pokemon to take him down. So it's going to be...
Darby, it's interesting to see Darby involved in like two different storylines right now. Because right now, I mean, because he won the Battle Royal on Rampage, like the Rampage Royal, he's gonna go for that. At this point, he's supposed to be fighting for the TNT Championship at All Out. So he has a guaranteed match, which is weird. It's weird that he's in that storyline because he's dealing with Christian Cage, but also I get the feeling Swerve is going to be a pain in the rear for
Oh, sure.
this build up. And I was like, I was like, okay, then why are we not getting this match? Like, forget the TNT Championship. I'm more invested in this.
The hope is they're building where Swerve tries to cost him the title against Christian Cage, but he brought Keith Lee as backup, so Swerve and Keith Lee finally.
That was my other bit. That was my other good question that I wrote that came out of this promo, because I was talking with my friend who we were watching it together yesterday, and he brought out Keith Lee, and I was like, you know what? That is an interesting point. Like, did we just like forget that Lee and Swerve were supposedly supposed to have like their final blow off match, but it's been delayed for multiple
I think
times.
I think you two are onto something. I think that was a choice. Let's let the audience forget about Keith Lee. I hope so. Let them forget about Keith Lee for a little while. Then it's a reveal when Keith shows up, possibly saves Darby, possibly saves Nick, possibly ends up in part 2 of Shed Massacre and jumps out and saves him because he's in the closet.
But then, if that's the case, then the problem I have is that you keep sticking Keith Lee on Rampage. I know not a lot of people watch, but Lord, he's going to be on Rampage this Friday. Like, what is happening? If that is the case, like, I don't want Keith Lee to not be on my television screen.
That is thunder coming from behind me right now. We just got a big thunderbolt.
That is, but I love it. Nick Wayne
is Massacre, Thunderstorm. I mean, come on.
Nick Wayne died at the end of this promo. Swerve is out here being a mafia boss.
But I think that throwing the skateboard through the window was a little too method.
Yeah, that was too extra.
I think that was an afterthought where he was like, I was just feeling it, and threw the skateboard through the window.
I think that was an AR Fox idea because he's just too enthusiastic about all this stuff right now.
You know, there's always that one guy that's like, yeah, that was great, yeah.
Adrenaline just kicked over and he overdoes it.
That's literally me.
Man, I'm like, Nick Wayne's mom has to get all the repairs now.
I wonder if they might have. Hopefully Tony Khan does them right and be like, hey, we're going to build you new shit anyway. Why don't you we're going to thrash it a little bit.
I will say Tony Khan is actually really good of like, I want to word this carefully because I don't want people to get mad at me, but Tony Khan does have a heart and he does care about the people that work with him because he does a lot of really great things for wrestlers. Like he paid for and flew out all the talent with the Briscoe funeral, like when they were having the funeral, man. It was crazy.
It's half the reason that Roosh re-signed with him was because he was taking care of his family with like the baby being born and everything else. That's
baby number 2.
But don't forget to tune in to the Tony Khan Accountability Corner coming soon in just a
right
matter
after
of moments.
this match.
Okay, can we also talk about
match? This was a high octane botch fest of fun. That I enjoyed.
It really was. And I had to remind myself when they announced the entrance. I was like, "Oh shit, I forgot. This is supposed to be for the Ring of Honor Tag Team Championships." Right. That's how much I forgot.
Lost.
That fatal 4-way though at Death Before Dishonor was fantastic. So I didn't take a lot of notes on this match because it was fun, but you're right. There were a lot of miscues and a lot of just where are we going, what are we doing? Like I said in the beginning of this review, there was a lot of waiting. And sort of, are you in the right position? Are you in the right position? Are you ready? Okay, go. And I wonder if Commander was actually making sure Vikingo was in the right spots for the most part, or vice versa. Because it seemed like Commander had a really good commanding the ring, like command of what was happening and what was going on.
Yeah.
And Vikingo was sort of just there a hair earlier, and I don't know if the Aussies were just a little off or what was kind of funky there.
The Aussies were a little funky just because with half of them being out for so long with the shoulder injury.
Yeah, Mr. Davis has been out with an injury since the end of May, and they had to give up the New Japan titles too.
Right. So this is kind of his first big match back on TV, going over stuff like that. So there's nerves, there's the ring rust, and I think what you're talking about also is I think Vikingo and Commander were trying to gel their styles because they both want to do the same thing. Like the moment I can think of with you two is when they looked at each other across the turnbuckles, like, okay, we're gonna walk the ropes now. Which I don't, as a performer, I'm like, you want to do that because if you bounce too much, one of us is gonna fall. Right. So they did that, and then did a beautiful double moonsault off the top rope. So it was still really good, but their taking time to check in was not as blatant as in the 3-way match. This seemed more like we don't tag together that often. We're gonna work with this as we can.
Sure, and I think if it was a little cleaner, I might have been forgiving and thought
that's cleaner. When Vikingo and Commander, this is never clean. It's always like, oh crap. Vikingo hit his head on the side of the apron, so
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, there was, but like I said,
yeah.
like I said this earlier. I don't know if we were recording or not. I am happy to see Vikingo not 100 and 110%. Like, just bring it down to 85% so it's controllable. So maybe if you do hit your head, you're not dying. Like, it just hurts a little. Like, you're
you
not
mean when
totally...
when Keith Lee botched catching him a couple weeks ago? And
Oh
Yes,
my gosh.
when we all thought he was dead. Like, no,
Yeah.
that's it. We just saw the death of Vikingo. He's going to go home and be
I'm
in
telling you,
coma.
man, this is the Luchadors out here, like, I always worry for them because I'm like, oh, somebody's going to get hurt. And we talked about this on SmackDown, too, where we thought Ray died on television.
Right,
Sure.
yeah.
I don't know of a lot of... I'm sure it's happened, and I'm sure there's research out there and articles and folks can talk about. Deaths in the ring from professional wrestling are relatively rare. Of course, long-term damage caused from it, not rare. But sort of the immediacy and the horrible tragedy of that happening. However, if someone's wrestling and that's the first thing you're thinking is, please don't die on television, like, it takes me out of it.
I can understand that.
I don't want to see a murder. I want to see fun.
See,
Illusions of murder.
for me, though, I have seen, within the last couple of years, like, we have seen, like, actual legit injuries happen in the middle of matches, like, I mean, some people do very well to hide it. Like, when I didn't know until afterwards of Forbidden Door that Danielson broke his arm against his match to Okada and wrestled the last 20 minutes with a broken arm, which was out of control. But
I mean, pain tolerance is a thing, and adrenaline's a thing, and you don't know how injured you are until...
See, I got scarred, like, when Big E's head incident occurred on live television, and that for me was like, oh... And so that's kind of stuck with me. So I'm like, please don't die. We don't need somebody getting hurt.
I'm old enough to have watched Owen Hart live.
Yes, that was also very, very... Ooh, shiver thinking about it.
And you saw it on pay-per-view, correct?
Yes, I did.
So they didn't cut away in time.
No.
They cut away once they realized something was kind of wrong. Yeah. But if you're watching that pay-per-view, you saw it.
You will never see it on any of the broadcasts of it, but you saw it live.
You saw the illusion of CPR because they knew right then it was over, and then it kind of cut, and then there was a good 30-minute gap where they didn't talk about it. Right. And I've heard of horrible injuries in indie promos, and you see stuff on Instagram where you're like, you should be dead. That's a fluorescent bulb.
So this wasn't one of those matches, luckily, because Vikingo kept it lower.
Like 88%.
Exactly. We said all that to say this. Hey, just go 80, because 85% for you is above and beyond for everybody else.
And I think I mentioned when we were talking about that, because he had Commander with him, someone who he trusted in that respect, he didn't feel he had to go that far because both of them were going to do ridiculous things. So
yeah.
Also, shout out to Alex Abrahantes for pulling double duty. That man got to come out twice today. I love him. He's like him and Jose the assistant for Andrade and Rushadev is so great.
A bonus to come out for that and just come out twice and 3 times wherever he needs to be.
Also, Jose the assistant be like, hey. Also, Mr. Davis, hey. That is Thickum McGee boy right there. It was ridiculous.
You gotta jump on the Twitter and the threads and hit these people up, Mikey, and see what
you
they
mean
think.
X.
Oh, that's right.
Like Booker T talks about all the freaking time on NXT, and I'm sick and tired of it.
See, we don't talk about Booker T because, like, he still annoys me on commentary, but like we did during the Great American Bash review, he was the most quiet I've ever seen him during Roxanne and Blair's match, which was crazy.
Okay. But even then, when he talked, he was still so weird.
But ultimately... Go ahead.
I would say I was happy with this episode of Dynamite, though, because commentary wasn't terrible. Like, there weren't a lot of Taz gaffes. There weren't a lot of things. It was actually really well done for this entire night. So.
I know. I was surprised, too.
Did you catch Tony Schiavone talking into the microphone after Jack Perry took it? Because that was really funny.
That was awesome. Hilarious. That was Tony Schiavone gets, like... I love Tony Schiavone.
We're here to listen to Jack.
No.
Yeah, no.
Ultimately, but though the Aussie boys, Aussie Open, they maintain their titles. They pin Commander for the win with the Coriolis, which is still a lot of fun to watch. And also, they're very, really safe with it, too, which I appreciate. Because they're
an amazing tag team that I want to see more of on ROH and actually like get that division back up and running again because they need
Aussie Open versus the Kingdom, Aussie Open versus Titus and Hot Sauce, the Righteous. shout out to the Righteous and Dark Order for having probably one of my favorite matches at Death Before Dishonor, and also reminding us that Legos are evil.
They are worse than thumbtacks.
They
Anyhow,
really are.
we can watch it.
We get the bumpers
So
bumpers Rampage for Collision, and then we get into the main event.
My match of the night, and I'm definitely sure this got moved because of what happened last week.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Tony Khan Accountability Corner, brought to you by Accountability. JVL, we're here with you today. Share some thoughts.
Go off, sis. Go off.
Mike, I'm going to move this out of the way.
Tony, come here. I got your seat ready. We put down the plush part for you. You don't have to look at me with those dead doll eyes. I know you're listening. I appreciate that because of the pressure put on you by every freaking wrestling fan out there that the women's division was booked weird, you decided to put this match on last. I even fully appreciate that you, in a strange way, pulled the trigger on a storyline that was feel good for the end of the night. You gave Shida the title back. She carried your women's division through the pandemic, and she got nothing. So great job with that one. Thank you so much for realizing that that was something that needed to be righted. You had to do it at the expense of Tony Storm, who's also been carrying your division now with all the injuries, and you stuck this on a Dynamite show, which this should have honestly been on a pay-per-view. But I'll leave it there, Tony. You set up a brilliant main event. It was what it was going to be. You didn't book the women's division, Tony. You moved the women's division. You still kept it between two people. You have the talent to have made this an amazing show versus you're trying hard to a good show. You have women on the roster sitting there in the back who have had matches of the year after year, who could have gotten in there, and if you wanted to pay homage to it, stick them in another Lights Out match, stick them in a TBS title match, stick them in a 6-person number 1 contenders match. You have storylines that could be built. You have match types that haven't been tried in a women's division, and you gave us the Elite versus the Outlaw Jeff Jarrett and 2 other guys that don't want to wrestle anymore. You gave us a triple threat match to get John Moxley to do his contractual bleeding, which he didn't do, to set up another match between the BCC because you've had them do this same setup 4 weeks in a row. Meanwhile, and I got to take a breath on this one, on ROH, you can do 4 women's matches in a night. You can have 2 on Collision. I don't know, Tony. This is your flagship program, and it seems to me you're just afraid of your women's division and afraid that some wanker who's got a candlestick up his ass about the entirety of men's wrestling being 3 people who you seem to think cares about this. David Zaslav doesn't know what the fuck is going on. WB doesn't know what's going on. You own this crap, and you have the right to say it, and you've said it on multiple occasions. The women carry the show. So use them, and use them more times, because we need more women's matches on the card at All In and All Out and All In and Out and All Out Burger and all those other things. Then you can see what WWE is doing with SummerSlam. The bar is on the floor, Tony. Pick it up. And this has been the TKO Accountability Corner with JVL.
Beautiful segment. Beautiful segment. I agree with all of the
Magnifique.
things.
Holy shit, JVL.
I love your ideas. Your ideas for matches in there are perfect. I think you said it best in your conclusion there. The bar's on the ground.
He's got everywhere to go.
He can only go up.
If it was
be a hero. Just do it. I don't even want to say be a hero. That's wrong. Do the right thing.
He's worried about goodwill and everything else and being called a secondary promotion. Do better than WWE. You don't have to be at Impact level where they are. Do better than WWE, better than NXT. Mm-hmm. And you will have the goodwill of a majority of wrestling fans, not the ones we don't care about who are vocal on freaking X, or whatever it is.
You can drop the curse words. Drop the curse words.
No, I'm trying to not get more demonetized than we are, and also because it's lowballing it. But this match, to get back to it, was well put together. They did really well. The fire up spots were great. I popped when Sheet Up kicked out of Storm Zero.
Me
Absolutely.
too, bro.
So hard.
Absolutely.
I felt so bad for Ruby Soho getting hit in the noggin by and like full on with that kendo
Oh,
stick.
Ruby always gets rocked, and it makes me
But
sad.
this was like on the forehead. Like this was bad,
So,
and I knew they wouldn't hit Soraya.
I want to say 90% of the time they don't do kendos to the head just because of the slight chance that you do get bambooed to the skull, to the dome. She got her right at the end of it, and that sounded like a baseball home run crack. Bang!
It was the tip with the cap too. But no, the moves were amazing. It was well paced. Tony Storm, even in the so this is going back to the entirety of the thing. We had the problem again this week with every match at picture in picture. I was sick and tired of that crap.
Oh, so
Picture in
many.
picture across everything needs to die, but continue.
The dreaded picture in picture.
And I'm going to go slightly misogynistic on this. I was very upset because I was watching on a very small screen that I did see Tony Storm whacking her ass. And I was like, oh, that looks really awesome. I would love to see that in big picture. But that was setting up the hip attack. Also, the hip attack through the ropes, knocking her out, great spot there. But in general, this match was the best put together on the card. And I'm glad it was the main event. It was definitely moved with the Elite because the Elite were supposed to close the show out. And this needed to close the show. And I am actually, as sad as I am that Tony Storm is not going into Wembley as the champion, I feel like there's a rematch there built in. And maybe Tony Storm ends up in Sheeta's corner on there to get the pop or everything else. Sheeta getting her flowers for having carried that stupid division through 2020 with no one there.
The pandemic champion, man, she carried so much.
And they remarked upon that like 3 or 4 times. They talked about because it was only in Jacksonville, I think they said, right?
In Daly's place, yeah. She literally
right,
defended in Daly's place, and that was it.
And Taz and Excalibur mentioned that a few times. Like, she fought hard for
And
this.
to add on top of that, she didn't complain. She didn't go to the internets and complain about it. She did.
She worked dark for a year. She worked dark and dark elevation for a year.
Was it just because? Was she injured or she just
No, she
This
at that
was-
point wasn't
yeah.
being used. She went back and forth to Japan and did like actual theatrical productions and like
Wow.
full on sports things because she wasn't being used, but she never complained about not being used. She's like, no, I'm just gonna do my thing and remind Tony I'm still here. And when you're ready for me, I'm here to do it. But
fantastic.
I'm the best you
That's-
got. And she is so good.
She's incredible. I had not seen her before. I'd heard of her, but not seen her wrestle. Amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, her weave got ripped out of her hair. She kept on, which was kind of a funny bit in the middle of that.
So the
But
funny,
again, I took no notes. When I take no notes, it's like this. I was all in on watching this. It was amazing.
Except for the picture in picture. But yeah.
Yeah, the dreaded picture in picture.
I hate
every
picture in
single time.
picture.
I mean,
We-
just give
we
me a
need to get that-
commercial. Just give
we
me.
need to get
Fun fact.
sports feed and then we don't have to worry about it.
Fun fact. Impact's the well, I mean, because everything is their shows are always taped, but they don't do picture in picture. It's cut to a commercial and then we're back.
So again, who is this? It's like an indie fed you're watching or something on network.
You know what? I'm gonna be nice because I have taken you talking shit about Impact for as long as I can this whole entire review. So I'm gonna be nice and I'm not gonna say anything until we're off the air. But you best believe I'm gonna rip you a new one when we get off because I'm tired of you talking shit about Impact.
Impact's great. Shane McMahon's doing a great job over there.
Both of you are dead to me.
Thank you for listening to this review of AEW Dynamite from July. July. I'm laughing. August 2nd. If you're watching on YouTube, JVL's screen is frozen because his house was just hit by lightning.
They just lost power. That's karma
just
for
lost
talking
power.
shit about Impact.
We angered the gods making fun of Impact. And I forgot what month it was. Thank you so much for watching this review, Mikey. It's always a pleasure, and please keep coming back. I know we're razzing you a little bit, but we have so much fun with you because you know this world better than the rest of us. And it's you bring us all up. You're the tide that lifts all boats, Mikey. You do a great job here. Please tune into everything else we have here on Vibe Tribe Bi-Conics podcast YouTube channel. What else we have going on, Mikey? We have all kinds of D&D things still. We're in season 2 of a lot of Vibe Tribe stuff. We're reviewing every major promotion, including Impact. What else is happening?
Well, if you like the long view forms of what we're doing, you could check out all the other long form reviews of the TV shows we have here. Check us out on the social medias to see clips as well as our shenanigans. And also stay tuned because we're going to be reviewing SummerSlam and we'll let you know if that was great or if that was horrible. But, you know, we'll figure it out.
Yeah, we'll find out. And I let the cat out of the bag a little bit a week early, but if you're watching the SummerSlam review, you're gonna hear all kinds of fun stuff because we have surprises for you. We'll see you then.
Bye.